And we're live. Hey, look at that. The Viking Empire Podcast live with Christopher and Bryce. Oh, hello. I hear something maybe.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So it was because Skype was still running.
So everything we said was lost to time.
It was lost in time. Let me text my girlfriend to see if she can hear me. And then we're gonna have to obviously, fucking thank God for test runs, right?
Yes, indeed. That's why we do them, you know?
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, like, as soon as we stop broadcast, does this, like, actually commit itself?
Yeah, it stays as, like, a live thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's gonna be so bad.
It's gonna be, yeah. It's so far, it's just you talking, so. Maybe we should, give me one sec. How do I check this? I mean, at least we developed some chemistry in this.
At least we developed some chemistry.
Thank you for translating to me, to the people that can actually hear.
That's too damn funny. Oh, it's gonna be so bad. We gotta bury this video, Bryce. Nobody can ever know about this again.
No one ever.
Well, shit, dude, you're gonna have to ring out the sponsor again, there, guy.
Oh my God.
Dollar bill, yo.
Dollar.
Also, if someone could support me by supporting our Patreon, and that I need you to make us a Patreon.
Oh, we're live, so like everything, like past that via that current thing we were talking about, we can hear.
Nice.
Or they can hear. So yeah. So okay, now I gotta do the sponsorship thing.
A message from our sponsor.
A message from our sponsor. Well, hey, it's I mean,
Wait, want the fucking Andy Griffith song in the background? Spit it out, boy.
It's we're sponsored by Anzuz Arts and Keystone Crystals. Owned in all that shit from Carl Roberts, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember the name. This is really bad. They're gonna still
probably write it down next time.
this test run. They're gonna, he knows it's a test run. So, yeah, So Anzu's Arts is gonna be, he's gonna be drawing my book cover for my upcoming Norse novel, and all that greatness. So, and then you had that follow-up question, what the hell? Oh, I didn't even, the book's about everything. Okay, I see the recording time, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes in, so we have to talk about 15 minutes of shit again.
15 minutes of shit. That's pretty funny.
15 minutes of shit.
Well, okay, what were we talking about? This is an initial test run step to get our feet wet, our whistles wet, all that on the technology, because neither Bryce or myself, but gentlemen by the name of Christopher, have never done this before. So we're poking around, we're figuring it out. We're both to-be-intended hosts for a to-be-intended podcast called the Viking Empire Podcast that should be addressing, in theory, the sagas and various histories of the peoples and cultures we lump up together and call the Vikings. That said, I know almost nothing about the Vikings, but Bryce, he's my moral compass here.
Right.
He kind of knows a little bit about the Vikings. And hopefully, by undertaking this project, I can learn a little bit about the Vikings.
Bryce is in, yeah. So I'm Bryce. That's Christopher. Bryce is Edvar on Viking Empire. I'm the one who does the history. Well, Runar, he's not here today. He's the main owner. Like, I'm gonna give a special shout out to him. He's the guy who owns this website and everything.
He's the brainchild.
Right. He's the guy who sits on the the fancy velvet chair made of wood from wood from the planet on Avatar. Like because they're always, they're going to make his fancy chair and shit. He's just like the king, the king. I could have just said that with all the.
I didn't vote for him.
Hashtag not my king.
But I've admittedly not done much interactions on the website. I've just kind of been like a creative hidden force that's just kind of helped you give ideas and directions on how to tackle this or that.
We're gonna get there. We're getting there.
We're gonna
get you there.
And for future reference, I suppose my moniker and alias on the website will be known as the General or simply General. I don't yet have a Nordic name variant. As myself as an ethnic Italian, I don't want to, appropriate any cultures. This is a safe space, Bryce. Just kidding, folks. Bryce actually asked me earlier, is this going to be an 18 plus kind of podcast? I was like, fuck yeah, it's going to be an 18 and up podcast.
Yes.
I can hardly watch my language without being live on air.
I mean, right, man. Like, I always have the tendency of saying the F word. I mean, it doesn't even matter. Like, even if I'm playing Scrabble with like the family, I'm like, fucking B, fucking O, fucking I. Like
get that punk ass shit out of here, Grandma. I'm gonna fucking this letter B. Oh, Bryce, you're so obtuse.
You're so obtuse. Your language.
It's too funny.
But yeah. So yeah, like all that shit we were talking about right there.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, great
stuff.
So about Ragnarok and all that shit. The book's going to be about Ragnarok. Like,
yeah, that's right, everybody. Bryce is writing a book. This was during the before time when we figured out how to get two voices on air at the same time. So Bryce is writing a book. Bryce, that book, what's it all about? Or give me the generalities, because of course we don't want to give too many details away. Man's got to eat.
Oh, man's got to eat. Yeah, right. Like, when people ask me about my book, like, plot-wise, story-wise, setting-wise, I'm like, fuck off. I'm actually writing a book about two kids, like their brother and sister, and they experience Ragnarok for themselves. But there's like I just added like my own Christopher Nolan type twist in it.
Oh. When you say experience Ragnarok for themselves, like a personal Ragnarok, or they are themselves experience Ragnarok, like the actual Ragnarok.
Like the lazy way of saying it is when the book comes out, read it.
Hey, there you go.
But no, I mean, like it's an actual Ragnarok. They're like living in in the Scandinavian world. He experiences so Oliver, he's and just some dreamy boy, not dreamy boy as in like the sexual dreamy, more like just like he's lost in his head, when experience, and his sister's like the more actual stubborn, independent, iron will, iron skin, all that bullshit, and she's like, fuck, can you like quit imagining shit while I at least fish? And and you would think she's younger, but she's actually younger. You would think he was younger, but he's older. So
the pairing of two siblings, the younger one actually has to be the adult because the first one's like too either lost in his dreams or visions or his own musings to really care, and so often it falls in the younger sibling's lap. Well, I guess I'll be the one to take up the weight and carry on. Interesting dynamic.
Well.
But as you said, we will have to read the book. We'll have to figure it out for ourselves. But because this is a Viking podcast, or at least an attempt to be a Viking podcast, we figured it would be a good thing to start at the beginning. And what better way to start at the beginning than with the very own myths themselves, namely creation myths, gods, and all this and that. And again, as I know almost a dick about the Viking culture, aside from what the Marvel movies will tell me.
God, I love
Bryce,
it.
Can you again tell me and teach me and give me insight to Ragnarok, or how to even properly pronounce it first?
That's the end. So,
I suppose. Well, you did say your own storytelling narrative was very Christopher Nolan-y, so what better way to do him honor than to begin at the end? To end at the beginning. Like a Viking memento or some shit like that.
Right.
No, okay, how about this? How the hell was the world created in the Viking culture?
World was created. Well, I actually posted it, like something really funny about that. Odin was really, really, really drunk, and so he was at his local pub, and he was just really fucking wasted. So he booted up his favorite pinball machine, and he was just like, ding, 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 and that's how
he put on the Who in the background. He was wearing a flannel that was kind of torn around the pockets.
No, what's the Who song where it takes like forever to even sing? Like where the lyrics come in? It's like whatever. But I
don't know. I don't know what that one is.
Is it? Fuck it. I was born in the 90s. That's my scapegoat. No, that was just stupid. But the world was like created like in there, in the Norse mythology, Norse religious wise. Like I don't want to be mythology because a lot of people still believe in this, and I mean rightfully so, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got these worlds, right? There's 9 worlds on the Yggdra. I can't even say that word. The Tree of Life. The Yggdra's. I can't even. Yggdra. I've been drinking.
Yeah, I suppose a forewarning to all of those who might hear this live or for the future in posterity that we are going to absolutely butcher these Nordic words.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but if you want to make a culture that lasts, cut down on the fucking syllables.
Right. God damn it. But so like there's 9 worlds in this world, right? And in this universe, right? And actually, I was tripped out when I actually studied. There's like 9 planets in the world, right? Now,
interesting,
right?
I wonder if that was a lucky guess or if it was tied to something natural, like
that's
I don't know, like seasonal changes or even average time duration of a pregnancy or something like that. But that would assume that they had like a Gregorian or Julianic calendar that had 12 months on this and that. So I don't know.
I don't know. But Alex
Jones. Question for the people out there.
Alex Jones of Infowars said Pluto does
we should try and make that
existed. So there's 8 planets. North doesn't exist. 3 frogs.
We should try and make that a long-term goal of this podcast to get Alex Jones to weigh in on the Viking culture. If anyone listening now, later, or sometime has Alex Jones' contact information, or if you yourself, sir, are indeed Alex Jones listening to my voice right now, please contact Viking Empire and let's talk.
I mean, your fucking cell phone is on the Viking Empire YouTube channel, so like, what are you gonna call from Alex Jones? What do you want?
There's resistance. Starts just trying to peddle his fucking paleo smoothie bullshit duck bone on us.
Can I get on your podcast?
Another forewarning to the listeners out there, but there's going to be a lot of meandering on this. Not going to lie, it's probably going to be 80% banter, 10% booze drinking, 10% Viking talk. We will try and balance it out. We will try. But you know what? You got this on promise. We'll never really watch what we say, and we will always say what we mean. Half the time.
I mean, half the time. Some of it comes out of our asses.
Honestly, it's better than what the usual slock of media dissemination is doing today. To say what they mean, even half the time. My God, what an improvement that would be. Anyway, not to get too political, as the various martinis I mixed tonight start to get to me. We need to stay on course. Bryce, the 9 worlds. The 9 worlds of the Viking mythos.
Yeah.
Where do we reside? Are they kind of imagined like 9 planes of reality or like 9 physical different locations?
Different locations, all connected. The Tree of Life.
That's right.
So the tree of life is, like in the branches. It's actually very, 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 very like romantic in a way. Like not the mushy gushy romantic, but more
Yeah.
of like the 17th century poetry
Very
romantic.
idealistic, very, very emotion driven.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, the branches connect out to these other planes. Um, and I've always wondered if it was like a flat. These planes were flat, but no, they're spherical, kind of
Hmm.
like just planets.
Take
And
that, flat earthers.
take that.
You're debating over one planet. The Vikings got 9 round ones for you, boy. Goddamn.
Oh man.
Okay, so we got 9 worlds. The tree of life. Where does humanity exist and all that
It's
schlock?
oh man, like it just it depends on like kind of like any like even the Bible. You can translate it however you want, you know. But
Oh yeah.
the like Midgard's like we're Midgard. Earth is Midgard, and that's where the humans dwell. I mean, you got planets full of dark elves. You got planets full like they're not even like technically they're not technically like planets. They're kind of like
Yeah.
planes in a sense, like how you were saying.
Yeah,
Um,
certain kind of like imagine kind of like different strata, kind of either I don't know if the way I'm imagining it is like certain levels of existence kind of stacked on top of each other, like a classical
right,
idea
right,
of heaven being above, hell being below, except in Norse mythology it goes by another factor of 4 each direction.
right. Um,
Interesting.
so like Midgard, the humans dwell, right? And I mean, like, they're not shit. They're not shit. I mean, like, no one's shit in this whole universe. It's like like we're Christianity, Judaism, Islam. The Abrahamic religions base
Hmm.
their shit where like, oh fuck, humans are so fucking important. Um,
Yeah.
where like Norse, it's like, nah, man, like we just happen to be here. It's kind of like like a scientific accident.
Hmm.
Um, where how that's how they believe. Where like instead of like, oh, it's by the miracles of every fucking thing happening. No, like Midgard is just there. Like they live kind of more in the present than like the past, the future.
Could I almost
Where
imagine Midgard kind of like a central or like a middle bus stop station on this line that kind of perhaps keeps going back and forth?
yeah, oh
And like
yeah,
Midgard is
absolutely.
kind of just like, okay, I guess you're humans now. Jump off, boop, and you got like 15 minutes to end the step before the bus takes off and you got to go again. Because I had read somewhere that the ancient Gallic and Celtic peoples, their ideas of afterlives was kind of like their 2 half worlds. We got this world and the other world, and when you die, you go between the two. So it's kind of like an everlasting reincarnation, kind of a bit. And so
Yeah,
you would
yeah,
die in one, exist in the other, and you'd come back. Da, da, da. And I want to say that that served to a point, sound like a proto foundational to the Midgard belief system and all that. But granted, I don't know how fucking far back these beliefs go, because my understanding of the Baltic and Nordic peoples is that they were pretty much tribes for the longest damn time. And how long do
yeah.
those cultures stay amongst themselves? But it is kind of interesting to realize that here we have a culture that I would imagine had almost no contact with Indus River Valley, right? Way off in India. But yet still we have 2 cultures into growing independently of each other. Hashtag aliens, right? No, no, none of that shit here. No conspiracy theories. I banish thee. But it's interesting to think that like humans have this underlying just drive and hope and belief that like come back in some way or another, either passing through or going on to a next world or coming back. But it's interesting, isn't it? They got people
I've always
separated by completely different hemispheres and halves of the world, but hey, reincarnation to a point is kind of there. And that was just
right.
my little like, whoa, isn't that cool rant? And I don't know how well it applies to the Viking cultures at this point in time.
Viking cultures, like it applies to like Valhalla, right? Let's say Valhalla.
Hmm.
Um, like if you die a warrior's death, you go to Valhalla. Like if you died like fighting, all this shit, right? Um, like in battle, in the mortal field, like on Midgard. Um, where like if you die, like okay, there's a place called Hell, um, operated by Hell, Loki's daughter, like Loki's.
Interesting.
Yeah, Loki really. I mean, he had sex with so many animals.
Well,
And then, like
it's dark down there. You're stumbling around. You don't know what you're putting yourself into. Literally, things are gonna happen.
So
You're an immortal god. You've got time to kill.
Eventually, the Acers were like, "Dude, where do we put her?" And he's like, "Oh, just let's make like another like realm for her after her." So they like made it after her, like hell after hell, and
Yeah.
she just like governs the lost souls, as in lost like people who die, not a warrior's death, who don't go to Valhalla, go to hell. And then eventually, like when Snorri Sturluson came in,
who's that fella?
He late 1200s, after the Viking Age ended. I mean, he rewrote everything like about his culture. He like the original gods were Loki, Odin, Thor, Freya maybe, but there were all these gods, like with multiple tree lines. He added it in so like people of Christianity could understand it a little bit more.
And what's interesting there, because I also read, because I might not know much about ye olde Vikings, but I did some reading. But what was interesting was almost everything we know about the Vikings comes to us a century or a couple centuries after the fact, right? After the Vikings really were a predominant force and threat.
Yeah.
When most of the literature and material covering and talking about them, Vikings had already like pretty much integrated into various vassalages or kingdoms or started their own kingdoms and pretty much were no longer what we would think Vikings were. So you have all this literature talking about it after the fact. In order to convey these ideas to the medieval Christians, they pretty much, generally speaking, knew two halves of a theological argument: single God, multiple gods. Well, the church is in Rome, and that culture largely permeates around that. Not to mention the old footsteps of the Roman Empire dispersed their religions this way and that. So you would want to associate with a Greco-Roman pantheon and a singular god. The best way to convey the idea of a Viking pantheon would probably be to associate it with the Greco-Roman pantheon and like try and find some similarities, maybe even mock up certain gods that had a lesser role or weren't even gods to begin with, but you had 3 more roles to fill, so you had to bump those gods up. So I think that's kind of where certain liberties and insights and even uh, current conceptions about the Vikings come from. It's those old after the fact monks and just theologian writers going, okay, Vikings, how the fuck do we make sense of them? Oh, I got it.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you can easily like misinterpret anything or whatever. But like the whole thing about like how you were saying, like, like let's take a Roman pantheon, or pantheon. And like it's all about comparison. Like even with Snorri Sturluson, like to fully like he was Christian at the time, and I'm like I have nothing against any religion right now. As of right now. No,
except those damn Baptists.
Your heroes.
As my mother would say.
Baptist. You hear that, Westboro Baptist? We're after you. Because they're like, it's kind of like just like talking to shit and being.
That's another thing too. After we get Alex Jones on the show, we're gonna have to try and get the Westboro Baptist Church on the show because I want people picketing outside of where we host this thing.
That's publicity.
To say God hates lock chips.
God hates horns on helmets.
I'd be like, me too. That's not archaeologically accurate.
Right.
That's another fun fact for anyone who doesn't quite know that. There has really been no archaeological findings of horns on helmets. That's just, again, an after-the-fact Christian imagery tying back to the Vikings to be like, look at these backward savage pagans.
That was actually like straight from an opera, like straight from the opera times. Like in I can't
imagine what something Wagner comes to mind when like the Victorian era 19th century reimagining and all that.
Yeah, it was like the fat woman with opera, whatever.
Hey, it made a great Bugs Bunny episode, I'll tell you that. We did a damn fine Bugs Bunny episode.
Right.
Let me tell you, you want to talk about LGBTQ rights? That episode right there. Bugs Bunny's dressing up in drag. He's making Elmer Fudd feel all sorts of confused. Let me tell you, Looney Tunes had some heavy
and
shit.
Elmer Fudd's like the straightest guy ever too, because he's like, I didn't want to kill rabbits.
Right.
Anyways,
hell of a tangent. Another forewarning: tangents. They're kind of like rogue waves. You never know when they come, but they'll happen.
They're gonna eventually. I would say by like the 10th episode, everyone's gonna be like, "When's that tangent wave gonna come in?" Guys, at 10:43, hit play.
Exactly. Too funny. So yeah, we were talking about the fella who pretty much chronicled. What was the guy's name again? This chronicler after the fact.
Snorri Sturluson.
Snorri Sturluson.
Snorri.
Lovely name. And he was integral to what pretty much being like the first big honcho to really chronicle who, in a single sitting, what these peoples were, and gave them a moniker, which we can discuss later. Why Viking?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, this is gonna be the first episode, an intro to everything, but we're gonna reiterate on all of this. Episode, obviously, but this is kind of like what we're gonna be talking about. I just wanted to put that out there.
Absolutely, and there's going to be a lot of growing pains, and especially figuring out the tone and procedure and overall thematic presence we want to bring to the table with this podcast. Also, how much of alcohol we wish to consume during these podcast episodes. But there's going to be a lot of wobble and pretty awkward bad growing pains early on, because honestly, Bryce and I, Edvar and the General, have never done this before. This is our first foray. In fact, honestly, it's almost a fucking miracle that we're here and now doing it, really.
Well, you know what's really weird? It's honestly our first actual conversation, full conversation we've ever had in real life. I remember going. It was your sister's birthday, and I went there, and then I was already see, I don't drink anymore. I don't drink as much anymore.
Sure, that's a good thing.
Listen up, kids. This is just an occasion, to step it off. And I don't know if I'm going to drink anymore after this, but I remember the first conversation we had was me just blitzed out of my mind, just fucking gone. And I was like, and you're like, hey, Bryce, welcome to, you're talking in your fucking Christopher Columbus shit.
My Christopher Columbus shit?
Oh, no,
did I tell you to bring the blankets and give them to the natives? I mean, what the fuck is this Christopher Columbus shit?
I meant Napoleon. Yeah, you were sitting there on the table and you're like, welcome to my sister's birthday. I don't know how Napoleon talks, but
hey, shout out to my sister. You're beautiful. You're famous. We made it finally.
And I was like, I remember going to the strip club right after that. I was just like, yep, I'm done.
Well, I'm glad that I was so repulsive to you that the only way you could wash my initial Napoleonic ramblings at you was to go see, naked women dance. I don't know. Maybe I'll take it as a whatchamacallit, compliment. There we go.
Yeah. What do you call? I've never used this word before. Compliment? Am I giving you a compliment?
Oh, we're getting some input here that we can split our screen. Fuck, I don't know how to do that. Fuck, man.
I'm getting input too. Wonder if anyone's even watching us. Callum is.
We have an Ignacio Gutierrez in the top chat live feed.
Ignacio?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Oh, my dude. It's Edvar. Wait, yeah, that's right. You can't actually vocally talk back. So, thank you for watching the podcast. Thank you so much.
There you go. Thank you to
Hello?
you out there. Hello.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, so Ignacio, how are you seeing Ignacio
From the live
on
stream business.
Facebook?
Yeah, let me send it to you over the miracle of this modern web. So there's that. You open it up. There's a live stream of this wonderful channel right now,
So,
and
okay,
he's reiterating that you just had one job, Edvar. One job.
I'm Edvar, obviously. So, okay, Ignacio has been like, I'm honestly saying this like from the bottom of my heart. Beyond, like, besides that, I've been drinking, but like because he's not actually here, where I'll be like keep hugging him until the end of the night's done. But like, I'm just saying, like, this dude kept putting us on the path of this podcast. Like, I am dedicating this first intro to him.
To Ignacio.
To Ignacio. He's from South America. Somewhere South America, but
Hey,
I
there you
added him
go.
on Facebook. I added him on Facebook because he was like, I'm so excited, man. Like, I hope you're doing the podcast soon. Like, bro. And like, dude, like, I am so fucking happy to be his friend on Facebook and all that shit. But like, this guy put me like into this motion where I'm like, okay, I need to find someone else to talk about this podcast because I cannot literally
Well,
talk to myself.
if there's one thing that the Vikings can teach us, it's the power of international friendship.
Yeah. Okay,
That
right.
whole raiding,
And,
killing,
okay,
pillaging
okay,
stuff. That was second. That was beside the
okay,
point.
okay. Right. Well, okay. Like, if there's a bunch of like other like guys dressed in these fucking knights in shining armor bullshit, storming the beaches when you're okay. Okay, first of all, imagine this. You're in a boat.
I'm in a
Like,
boat.
you're in a boat. Long ship, perhaps. 50 other people. Just, they're oaring, and there's a couple just chilling, eating eating food and drinking ale and all that shit.
I roll
And
a sneak check.
and then you pull up and you just crash land in the sandy beaches, and you're like, oh, everyone, grab your weapons. We're at we're at where we need to be. So they all just pour out of the boat, right?
I'll take your word for it. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, well, no shit. But from researching and studying like Viking all shit,
Mm-hmm.
um, this is where I'm getting it. And you get off the beach, like there's sandy hills, and oh, sand's in my shoes. You got that one guy, so you behead him.
Sands in my shoes.
Right. You just take your shitty axe and you go, fuck off, dude. And, like, not the game, dude. Like, we're not here to like just we're here to like find new, like, they're the original fucking voyagers and explorers of their fucking time.
This is
Like,
true.
and they're not there to be like, oh, sand's in your shoes. Well, let me blow some. Let me get out of there, sand. Get out of there.
That's actually one
Oh,
thing I do really want to explore in this podcast is to like look at and diagnose our current view and belief of what Vikings were and compare that to what we can actually read up that the expert academics out there all agree upon what the archaeological evidence points to what the Vikings actually were. Which is interesting to think because you say, yeah, they pulled the boats, they jumped out, they whipped their axes, they had got sand in their boots, all this and that. But if you think about it, how do we know? What did they actually do when they pulled up on the boat? Did they all jump out? Did two of them jump out? What were Viking tactics? I don't fucking know. So this podcast, I hope, serves as a vessel for myself, you, Edvar, and also the fine people, especially you, Ignacio, out there in the world, to learn a little bit about what the Vikings actually were like. Bryce, you there? Oh, Bryce has died. He's dipped off. Bryce is back now. Hey, buddy.
I'm back. What were you saying? No, like I exited out of YouTube and it completely fucked up.
It was a fine speech, Bryce. Don't worry about it.
Okay. But yeah, no.
When we review this recording, sometime around the half hour, 35-minute, 40-minute mark, you can hear my awe-inspiring mission statement of this wonderful podcast that we're wonderfully trying to not kill. But yeah, I suppose honestly, after that, I don't know where else we could really go. I mean, the long and short of it is here, people. I know almost nothing about the Viking culture. Bryce is my moral compass here and my guiding star in that respect. And I want this to be like a shared venture with myself and you viewers and listeners, and also you, Bryce, where we can just kind of go forward and learn.
Yeah. No, like if you like, I want people to, after this podcast, I want people to like message the Viking Empire and like talk about this episode right now and say like, hey, you touched
what you like
this.
What'd you hate?
What'd you like? What'd you like? What'd you hate? Where do you want us to go forward? It's not about us, man. Like we're not, like we're like Vikings, to be honest. It's not about us. It's about you.
Right?
You have.
It's like, hey man,
lands you own.
It's like, hey man, I just work here, all right?
Right. No,
and that's the thing too. I mean, we have a general idea of where we want to take this podcast. We have certain general outlines. We have certain, event high water marks of the Viking Age from the late 700s to the early 1200s and all. But we don't really know where this will go. We don't know really what all we'll talk about. And the more input and feedback we get from the Viking Empire community, the better off we can all be.
Right. No, absolutely. And I mean, you can direct each message to the Viking, which is like the mastermind behind all of this, Runar. He's like, honestly, I gotta give like another shout out to him. Like, he is the best man ever. Like, he gave me this opportunity. I even messaged him on, Viking Empire after I quit my job back then, because I'm like, I got to keep getting into writing. And he goes, yeah, man, you can join Viking Empire. It's just me and some other guys. I mean, and then it ended up being me and him. But like that guy is fucking brilliant though. Like,
and to that,
like a year almost.
Nice.
Since I've like actually joined Viking Empire, but the man is brilliant. And we're coming up with new ideas and everything. Like,
we're not being idle.
No, fuck no. We're always continuing,
And to that, I suppose I have to thank Runar too, for me to get on and to spout off my wonderfully charismatic voice, to just talk about history, to learn about history, to take a lifelong passion of mine, and to turn it into a presentable format with a good friend of mine, Edvar here, and to just like the Vikings of old, put out to sea and figure out where that horizon takes me.
Yeah.
Current, wind, don't worry about it.
What? Fuck it. But yeah, no, I mean, like, we're really kind of like backtracking, forward tracking, all that shit. I mean,
yeah, these first couple episodes, not gonna lie, they're gonna be rambling. They're gonna be very rambling.
They're gonna be rambling.
Which is why I do again encourage the Viking Empire community to give us really good talking points. Well, not necessarily good talking points, but just talking points in general. Some direction, Because again, Edvar and I here, we have an idea.
Yeah.
We have an idea. It's probably not a good idea. We don't even think it's that great of an idea. It's the only fucking idea we got. So we're going with it.
I can't believe we're even going live with this. Well, actually, I was like,
fuck it, we'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. But it, like when you were like, when you were like, first you're like, let's just record and then upload, edit, upload. I was like, yeah, that sounds actually awesome. So then I talked to Runar and he's like, fuck it, do it live. I don't know the actual voice of Runar. Let's make that clear. Met him on Tinder. Just kidding. Just kidding. That's not a sponsor to Tinder. Fuck you, Tinder. But it's like, he's like, no, go live. First episode, go live. I was like, Okay. That actually makes sense though now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, it builds up motivation to even more talk about like more stuff. Like, I mean, it keeps you going because I don't know. I don't know. Stage fright.
It's interesting, and it does put us in that awkward position of having to think on our feet and fast. Which honestly, overall, long term, the more we do it, the better we'll get at it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and honestly, fuck it. Why don't we just do like after a while, hour and a half installments on various topics this way and that. We can have all sorts of topics of conversation to what not read about.
I mean, we don't even have to talk about Vikings. I mean, we could dedicate like like a couple episodes to Vikings, and then like Bryce or Edvar in the general.
We're going to talk about Charlemagne, France, the Frankian Empire, because the whole idea there would be that you can't really understand where the Vikings are coming from unless you understand who they're slapping into, right? like set up why a certain power vacuum exists here, or a scandal cropped up there, or this king exists here, and give insight as to why the situation was just perfect for Viking raiding ships to come in and do what they did. And the only way you can really realize and learn about that is if we spend maybe an episode or two talking about Charlemagne, France, or the Byzantine Empire, the Kievan Rus, or the various confederated tribes and principalities along the Rhine, or what the Britannic cultures of Wessex and Saxony were like, and the Normans, and all this and that. So there's no shortage of fucking material. But again, if we get the Viking Empire community involved and really we have them kind of tell us what they'd like to hear us give insights and ramble and banter on about. Ranter, I just invented a word. Ranter on about.
Banter about. I think that'd be because okay, going back to Ignacio, I want him on this podcast, man. Like I told a couple people, even like these fucking wacko. Like, okay,
we're gonna need more bodies.
Personally, me, I'm not a white supremacist. I hate white supremacy, but I want to hear. I want to hear.
We'll
make fun of them, dude.
Well, we might give them a pulpit to stand on, just so we can pull the rug from under their feet, underneath them.
And then you just hit end because, like, none of it makes sense.
We'll see.
White people.
Shut up. It's too funny.
No, fuck white supremacy, fuck all those guys. But Ignacio, you're the beast. You made this dream happen, bro.
Well, Edvar, we had a pretty good go of it. I think we got to conclude for the time being here now.
Let's do it because I'm gonna start spending outside.
and we can review this later. Yeah. And take our own notes about what we would like to do and what to never do again. But yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right, man.
Here you go. This was an inaugural test run of the Viking Empire Podcast.
All right, man.
General and Edvar signing out.